are back. That's right. We are back to the Race and Ethnic Relations podcast show. I am Dr. B. Welcome back to our shows. This is show number 75. Yes, 75. It's the summertime. Show number 75, and it's entitled Supreme Court Ruling on Affirmative Action. That's right. Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. Wow. This has started a firestorm across the country when this ruling by the Supreme Court came down, and how every major institution, organization has responded and now need to make adjustment to their affirmative action policies, programs, strategies, because this has shaken the fiber of many Americans, the fiber of many institutions across the United States. That's what that's what I'm going to discuss today in our show number 75, Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. And I purposely waited for a few weeks to provide my perspective. Yeah, it's just Dr. B's perspective. It's just Dr. B's perspective on the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. First, I need to thank all our podcast platforms. I want to thank Podbean, of course, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Amazon Prime, Amazon Music, that is Amazon Music, Samsung Podcast, Podchaser. Wow. And truly appreciate Audible, and all the new podcast platforms that have encouraged their listeners to add our Race and Ethnic Relations podcast show to their platforms. So again, this is July, y'all. This is July, and I purposely waited for several weeks on this major decision. And I'm going to give you my response. Oh, yes. I'm going to give you my response. And it's this such a heated battle, heated issue. And let me give you my initial response, because I'm ahead of several different organizations, but university, professional organizations. And let me give you my response as the director of the Ethnic and Rural Health Disparities Graduate Certificate Online Program at East Carolina University, and also chair of the Human Rights Social Justice Committee for the Society for Applied Anthropology. And I had to respond because I'm in these positions. And here was and I still stay true to this announcement. So here was my response as, again, responding to the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. On Thursday, June 29th, the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action programs at the University of North Carolina and Harvard in college admissions, declaring race cannot be a factor, and forcing institutions of higher education to look for new ways to achieve diverse student bodies. The Supreme Court ruled that both programs violate the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution and are therefore unlawful. The vote was 6-3 in the UNC case and 6-2 in the Harvard case. Justice Katana Brown Jackson was recused. However, the Supreme Court ruling exempts the U.S. military service in which they can continue to take race into consideration as a factor in admissions. Naturally, the Supreme Court ruling started a firestorm of opinions, commentaries, arguments, lively discussions, and statements from institutions overnight, and today will continue for a long time. Let me say right up front, this was my statement. Right up front, in my opinion, this Supreme Court ruling was going to happen. Primarily because our country is changing more rapidly politically, technologically wise, socially, culturally, ethnically, and racially. I think it is unfortunate, yet it is reality. We will all have to adapt to this new reality, and it will give us, and I say us, representing the Human Rights and Social Justice Committee of the Applied Anthropology, and us as director of the Ethnic and Rural Health Disparities Graduate Certificate online program at East Carolina University. It will give us even more motivation, attitude, determination, networking, and spirit to view all people more holistically than ever before, and to get higher education institutions to view incoming college students, regardless of their background, more holistically than ever before. Finally, this is one of my final paragraph to my statement. Finally, as an African American professor in higher education institutions for the past 35 years, and who currently teaches an undergraduate college course entitled Race and Ethnic Relations, Discovering New Solutions, and creator and director of the Ethnic and Rural Health Disparities Graduate Certificate online program at East Carolina University, I know our students need exposure, engagement, interactions, and a deeper understanding of all racial and ethnic groups more than ever, and they want it more than ever now. That's a great feeling, and this keeps me motivated, determined, and filled with the spirit that the fight is not over. So there you go. That was my statement. That was my statement to my organizations, my institutions on June 30th in response to the Supreme Court ruling. And it sent shockwaves throughout the United States. But that makes us, guess what? This is reality. It's 2023. And like it or not, and this happens, the cases, they ruled the case in UNC and Harvard. Guess what? I'm in North Carolina. I'm a part of the UNC system. We saw that coming. We saw it coming. And well, guess what? One of the responses that after this ruling, June 29th, the UNC system already just set out a memo to all professors, because again, East Carolina is part of this system, sent out a memo just a few weeks ago stating that they have changed the admissions already, just in response to this, stating that those individuals who families make less than X amount of dollars can be admitted. So UNC stepped up and said, okay, we have to be more creative. Hello. It's 2023. We have to be more creative. So UNC system, the UNC board of trustees just ruled a couple of weeks ago, because, everyone's getting ready for the fall season. They had to come out with a statement. And they stated that those individuals, whatever your background, but if your family makes less than this type of income, you will be admitted. Hello. You're starting to see the responses from institutions. As a matter of fact, I sent out an email to my Human Rights and Social Justice Committee members on July 7th, a couple of weeks after. And then here's my response to my members, because I know each and every one of my members for the Society for Applied Anthropology were thinking about this. So I just said, indeed, we need to step up. And here are ways that we need to readjust our affirmative action policies in the following possible ways. Again, I work with other professors, other administrators across the board in the United States. And I said, here are some of the things that I will do, encourage our members throughout this entire year, 2023, 2024, in particular, and 24, 24, and 25, but particularly 23 and 24. Here are some of the strategies. 1, encourage applied anthropology leadership to make a statement. I encourage our leadership to make a statement about the affirmative action ruling in 2024. Every major higher education program, institution, organization, conference, meetings need to make a statement about affirmative action, where you stand. 2, human rights and social justice members, can we do individually? Submit papers. In action is stating that there's some new strategies to address affirmative action ruling for university admission policies. And then 3, all members of my human rights and social justice encourage all students and university admissions advisors, counselors to evaluate all students more holistically with regards to their academic performance measures, GPA, community engagement, familial situation, extracurricular activities, and not just about one's race and ethnicity. There you go. So those were my response. And now, we saw it coming. After so many years, affirmative action would be challenged. And the way the Supreme Court rulings have been going on during the past several years, you knew this was coming. So it's important to prepare yourself for the change that's coming in 2020, now 2023, but 2023, 2024, the next 5 years. A lot of affirmative action issues, policies, initiatives will be taken down. Oh, yes, will be taken down. That's a reality. Because affirmative action is very important. I'm all in for affirmative action. We talk about this in my race and ethnic relations class. And many of my students don't realize that, wow, you're in this class to learn about other groups, but it's just not about your race and ethnicity anymore. It's about all these other factors which can bind you, can connect you with other folks. It's more than just, yes, Dr. B is saying this. It's more than just your skin color. Hello. It's all these other factors. And that's what's so important, that many of my students have to wake up to. But let me just say this. Race is still there. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not fool ourselves. It's still there. How you look, how you present yourself, that's still important. But with this ruling, it makes a lot of, here we go. Affirmative action folks, diversity administrators, inclusive administrators, to reevaluate their policies now, their strategies. Yeah. Because, again, even though the numbers have not, let's just be real, the numbers have not equalized, have not been equitable. And Dr. B is saying this. Even though the numbers have not been equitable for all groups in comparison to these so-called white Caucasian group where all the groups have to be equal, guess what? We know we're not there. Yet, it's been over how many years? Several decades? Several decades? 30, 40 years since affirmative action? And you know that it was going to happen. And these are one of the issues that I had encouraged many of my colleagues for several years to start reevaluating how the next generation should be evaluated in getting into college, because it's going to change. It's just not about race. There's so many other measures to determine how an available college student can be accepted or admitted or evaluated. And unfortunately, I'm saying this. Unfortunately, a lot of folks, and Dr. B saying this, a lot of folks got used to using race as a barometer for admissions to any institution, particularly higher education institution. We got used to it. And I say we. Yes, I'm part of the equation. But I just always felt uncomfortable with that. Recognizing this can only go so far. And recognizing that the playing field, will at this, and during my lifetime may not be equal all the way for all groups. So you knew it was a matter of time. So it allows all of us to be much more creative, much more recognizing the attributes of so many folks, and it's not about an individual's race anymore. And that's what came down. And every institution has to make their change, even though a lot of institutions of higher education do not show that equal diversity across the board racially. But they have to be more creative to continue to recruit, to continue to admit students of all backgrounds into their institutions. So it's going to make many of those institutions that have minority-related programs in it to be much more creative, to work across the aisle. Work, not just work in the minority related programs, but work. What do I mean by work across the aisle? That is, work with non-people of color. We get compartmentalized in higher education. We get compartmentalized in our professional fields. Guess what? Now we have to work across these silos, across these programs, to make sure we get proper representation of all groups. So this ruling puts everybody on call, not just minority related administrators, directors. It puts everybody on call. So every institution has to be more creative in recruiting, admitting diverse student populations now than ever before. Yeah, everyone reacted. Oh, this group reacted, that group reacted. Supreme Court ruling struck it down. And all of us who've been in this field from day one, knew it was coming. So let's be more creative. Let's be more innovative. Let's network more. And let's look at the next generation of students more holistically. All their attributes that they potentially can bring to an institution, to a business, to a corporation. Let's look more holistically. More of the attributes than just, yes, I said this, than just race. Because all of us are filled with so many distinguishing attributes. And to have our U.S. society always looking at race 24/7 in 2023 and beyond really doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Yet we still need to recognize, you can balance this out, that unfortunately our society still sees that visibility, that person's skin color. And now we got to reassess all of that in a completely different way. And here we go. Those of us who are persons of color, and those of us who are in my age range, the baby boomer range, we need to encourage the younger generation, to represent themselves more holistically. Here we go. Because in my profession as a professor, I still have to enlighten my young students that you need to get your act together. It's not about your ethnicity. It's not about your race. You will be evaluated, at least in my class, on your performance, not on your race. And that's what's happening across the United States in so many different ways. It's a cultural change. It's a shift. It's shaking up, folks. And it's shaking up the next generation of new students to, again, just imagine those students who are in elementary school, in middle school, in high school, preparing to go to college. They have to reorient themselves. They have to accentuate more of their skills so they can get in the top universities or any university. So they have to look more critically about themselves. not just being part of a particular group. Hello. That group preference, guess what? It's over. It's over. So it's a transition all of us have to make, but there are challenges there, and there is a new way of looking at everyone, the next generation and the next generation, in a more holistically way. So that's my response to the affirmative action, the Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. It's shaking up the world. And it happened right during summertime. And right now, like I said, all the universities across the United States are making different changes in their policies. and they're making a readjustment. And then there's going to be the lively discussion this entire year. From 2023 to 2024, you're going to have so many discussions, so many conferences, so many webinars, so many issues. And even at my conference, my Society for Applied Anthropology, we're going to have special panel discussions on it. So this is a great thing. Now we get to do a deeper dive into affirmative action. Hello, a deeper dive into making the next generations step up to even higher standards. And to look at them, here we go, to look at themselves in a completely different way. It's not the same world that Dr. B grew up in. It's a different world. And many administrators have to accept that. That's about change. That's about adapting. That's about getting real and facing reality head on and making the adjustment and moving on. Again, that's Dr. B's perspective. Show number 75, Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action in this July of 2023. Wow, it took me a time out, but I wanted to wait and make my statement on this. I didn't want to immediately respond during the week after the ruling. Let things digest and then see how it can be approached in a different way. So again, this is Dr. B, show number 75, Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action. I want to thank all our podcast platforms, Podbean. I want to thank Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Samsung Podcast, Podchaser, and all the other podcast platforms, Spotify. Yeah, it's the summertime, y'all. You know something was going to go down during summertime. It always gets hot and bothered during summertime in the United States. And it's just time to take a deep breath. Take it all in. We can readjust. We will be fine. The next generation will be fine. And let's move on together collectively. We out. Peace out, y'all.